Okay, we continue in Sefer Shmuel, Ram Perek Gimel Pasuk Yud. Pasuk Yud. Now Shmuel is being prepared and getting ready to receive his prophecy. Vayavoy Hashem, and Hashem comes to him. Vayisyatzav. Literally, Vayisyatzav means and he stands. You know, you have, for example, you had the idea by the dream of the ladder. What does it say? The ladder was going up to the Shemayim, the angels go up and down, and Hashem nitzav alav. Hashem is like standing over him. So, I'll have to explain that in a minute. Vayikra kefam befam, and he calls as every time he's called until now. We don't know what he was called until now. It just says Vayikra the last 3 times. But now it says Shmuel, Shmuel. He calls out 2 times, Shmuel and Shmuel. Vayomer Shmuel, and Shmuel says, Daber, speak, ki shemea avdecha, because your servant is listening. So, what is this idea of Vayisyatzav? And Hashem stands. So the Radak explains that this time it was. So one interpretation is that this time he was shown an image before his eyes, in the image of a prophecy. Therefore, Hashem stood it up, and he doesn't say Hashem as the way he says it to Eli, as it was said in Pasuk Tes.
As Eli told him.
Well, hold on. Better yet, let me just hold on. Eli told him to say Daber Hashem, speak Hashem. He just says Daber. Okay, so it fits better because the Radak really saying he didn't see Hashem didn't stand, but rather this was a prophecy via a malach. You have prophecies via a malach where the malach is speaking in the name of Hashem, and therefore that's why Shmuel didn't say Daber Hashem, because it wasn't really Hashem, but it was Hashem via a malach. So therefore he just says speak. And again, you know, so that's a simple way of explaining it. It could also be he was afraid maybe to say Hashem's name during a nevuah. Doesn't exactly know what the rules are, even though Eli told him, but could be he was very overwhelmed by the whole experience. And others say, you know, maybe it wasn't 100% yet prophecy. It's hard to know, you know, till you get the first prophecy, plus you go to your Rebbe and he confirms it, you don't even know if it's a prophecy. The Rebbe said it's going to be a prophecy, but then when you get it, you don't know if it really is until you get confirmation. So it's hard for him to be 100% sure that it was actually Hashem. So therefore, he's cautious, as it were. But it clearly is not the ultimate, as his first nevuah, so he's not going to get the ultimate nevuah experience the first time around. And again, remember we said this is the beginning of the dike bursting. So the first prophecy is not going to be as deep and as intense as other prophecies are. So therefore, he just says Daber, and it probably came through the agency of a malach. Now, the Malbim discusses the idea of Shmuel, Shmuel. Why is his name called twice? And the Medrash says we had this by Avram, Yaakov, Shmuel, Shmuel, and also who? Moshe. I'm not going to get into the piece from Reb Chaim of Volozhin who discusses how Moshe is different than anyone else.
Which one? When did that Moshe?
By the bush. So, because you'll notice the trup by Shmuel, you see there's a line in between. You see there's a break between the first Shmuel and the second Shmuel. By Moshe, the trup, by everyone, the trup, the cantillation indicates a break between the first time the name is mentioned, the second time the name is mentioned. By Moshe, it's not. By Moshe, it's a mircha tipcha. And that means you put the 2 words together, Moshe, without a break. When you're reading the Haftarah, you have to read it as I read it. You know, Vayikra Chifam V'Fam Shmuel. You have to pause. It's proper reading of the truck. By Moshe, when it's Moshe, it's Moshe. It goes straight together. It's no pause. So, first of all, so what's the idea of the 2 names? So the Bible explains it is to arouse the two parts of the person. One is the Shmuel, the spiritual Shmuel, and one is the Shmuel Hagashmi, the physical Shmuel. There's two aspects to every person that they should be prepared for what Hashem is going to say. And therefore, I want your physical body to be into what this prophecy is about. I want your spiritual self to be into what this prophecy is about. So that's the simple interpretation of that. Reb Chaim Volozhin, there's a long piece, but briefly he's saying the difference also is by Moshe, by everyone else there is a gap. Remember, we know Moshe's prophecy was beyond anybody else's prophecy. Moshe's prophecy was a clear vision. Every other prophecy was like a vision through a colored glass. It wasn't 100% clear. It was still true, no question about the truth of it, but the question of clarity. So you could. I'm looking at that machine. I can see it. It's not clear. It's fuzzy. I know it's a tripod. No question about it. There's no doubt. I know it's a tripod. I know there's 6 people in the room. I know pretty much what you look like. But clarity, I don't have. Now everything's very clear. No, until now, I couldn't tell you if it's a Canon machine there. I don't know if it's a Canon. I can't see anything there. I can't see any writings on it. I don't know who owns it. But when I put my glasses on, it says Canon. It's property of David Ostreicher. Now, which prophecy was clear? Are either of them false? No, but one has greater clarity. One has more details, more insight. So that's the issue with other prophets versus Moshe. Why is it that other prophets versus Moshe have that issue? Because a prophecy can only be clear to the extent that your physicality has been minimized. The less the person is connected to the physical, the less separations and aberrations come from just the physical orientation that a person has. So for everyone else, when they get a prophecy, Shmuel is Shmuel, and there's a break between the physical and the spiritual, causes a gap. And therefore the prophecy cannot be 100%. By Moshe, there was no, between physical and spiritual, there's no gap at all. No gap. The physical, he worked on his physical so much, there's no disconnect from that. From the physical and the spiritual. That's on one level. On another level, the famous idea said that, everyone has 2 names. Everyone in the world has their name twice. The first name represents the name, again, similar but a little different spin, is the name how it's set in Shemaim. In Shemaim, when your name was given, Hashem gave you all the potential that you had and what your purpose in life was. And then down here you get the name. Now, with your job down here is to make the Shmuel that is with 0. You start with 0. You haven't accomplished anything. You've got to match the name down here to the name that's up there. Hashem, when you brings in the world, says, okay, Shmuel, this is what I expect you to do. I expect you to be the greatest prophet of all in your generation. I expect you to anoint kings. I expect you to lead the Jewish people closer to Hashem. This is what the Shmuel above is. Shmuel below comes with a tabula rosa. So, okay, now the question in life always is, will the Shmuel below become what the Shmuel above is? Now, that happens for great people. Avram. Right? Are you going to be that? And these were all people who did. Right? Avram. Yaakov. Shmuel. These are what?
Shmuel was just starting.
Okay, but he didn't live very long. He didn't live till 52, so there wasn't a lot of time to do things. Everybody else had a lot more time after they had Yaakov's first vision. He was 77. He lived till 137. Okay, 60 years. Shmuel's must have been, I don't know, but still, you needed enough time afterwards to live afterwards. So he started it young. But anyway, so that's the idea. So when you get this prophecy, it's like Hashem saying, listen, you have a Shmuel potential, and this is what really I want you to become in Shemaim. Right now, you're a regular Shmuel. Now again, so this is always a great challenge for someone like this. Now the difference between them and Moshe is like the Rambam says, every Jew has free will choice, either be like Moshe or to be like Yerovam ben Nevat. What does it mean to be like Moshe? to be like Moshe means to fulfill your potential 100%. Moshe fulfilled his potential 100%. Right? So now, therefore, by Moshe, it's mercha tipcha. There's no break between Moshe and Moshe. There's absolutely no distinction between the potential and the reality. None. He reached it 100%. Could say Shmuel, Avram, and the others was 99.99, but not 100%, because there's still a little, and it has to be that way, because you see, if they wouldn't have been, then their prophecy would have rivaled Moshe's. You see clearly Moshe is a different level of prophecy. How could that be? In other words, there must have been by Moshe there was no difference in body and soul. He's the Ish Elokim, a man, godly man. The fact he was an Ish was no contradiction to the godliness he had. No one else is called an Ish Elokim. So Moshe was able, obviously, developed his potential 100%. Everyone else could have been 99, which is amazing. It's still an A+, but not 100. So that could be maybe why the break is over there as well. So this indicates, there's somebody amazing being referred to over, someone with a tremendous amount of potential that he will reach. That potential he has there. Yeah.
So the name that the parents get by Ruach HaKodesh when they name a child is the name but without the potential?
It's both. It's because it's the one in Shemayim too. The name they give, that's the name in Shemayim. The name you're giving here is matching up the name that's up there. In other words, that name up there was already inserted, because Hashem knew, or will influence you how to name the child. So you name your kid Moshe, then upstairs he's Moshe. And he's downstairs Moshe.
But he's Moshe 0% down here.
Everybody's at 0% down here. Everyone's at 0%. Now it's up to you to make it happen. Right? So therefore, you want to be careful what kind of names you give your kids. If you name your kid Esav, it's not good. Nimrod. There are people who do this.
All over Israel.
Right? So it's like, you're giving the kid a negative potential. So that's a problem. Okay. So anyway, that's Shmuel's first moments of prophecy. All right, let's move on. Yud Aleph. So we're going to read all the 4 psukim of the prophecy first, one shot, and then we'll go back to get the whole message. Vayomer Hashem el Shmuel, and Hashem said to Shmuel, Hine anochi oseh davar b'Yisrael, behold, I'm going to do something amongst the Jewish people. Asher kol shomo pipshilenu shdei osnov. When anyone who hears what's going to happen, his 2 ears are going to be ringing from the news. It's going to be unbelievably bad. Never before in Jewish history did what's going to happen Yud Beis, Bayomahu Alchimis Eli Eis Asher Dibarti El Beiso. On that day I will establish to Eli, which I said I would do to his home. In other words, he's corroborating the first prophecy from Elkanah. Hochel v'chalei, to begin it until it's finished. We'll begin it in the future. It's going to begin soon. I mean, it's still going to be a while. But it will begin until it totally devours up his family, until it finishes. V'higati lo, and I will tell him, ki sheifet ani es beis adom, that I am going to judge his house forever. Bavon asher yada, ki mekalim lahem banav v'lo k'chi habam. Because he knew that his children were cursing out, and he didn't dim them, he didn't rebuke them, didn't stop them. Yudal, now the key words for Lochei nishbati levesel. Now I swear to the house of God. Now it's an oath, forget it. That's it. If the avera of the house of Eli can be atoned for through animal sacrifices and through a mincha ad olam forever, it will never be totally atoned for their sin. End of prophecy. Again, is this a clear prophecy? It's not a clear prophecy. It's not saying what Hashem's going to do, how Hashem's going to do it. There's a lot of details are missing. The glasses are off. He can't see the detail. But this is clear. This is clear. That it's going to be the worst thing that ever happened. And that's true. Everybody's ears were ringing. And it was something that he did to the house of Eli. And it's true. And it continued to be true. And Hashem said, you ain't going to get atonement for it ever. It was also true. So, It was everything he said was true. The details, that's already another story. It's another story that needs further to get played out in life. So now let's go through the commentaries and see exactly a little bit deeper what is the message of this prophecy. So the first part, back to Yud Aleph, says Hashem says he's going to do something, and what he's going to do is the Jews are going to go to a battle against the Plishtim. They're going to lose a horrific loss, and as well, Eli's 2 sons will die in the battlefield, and people's ears are going to ring, because even worse, the Holy Ark that was brought into battle will be captured. And that is like the most amazingly terrible thing that could happen. Because that is the greatest thing in this world that manifests Hashem, and it should be in heathen hands, is a terrible thing. So that's, of course, Shmuel may not have known that, but indeed those words fit in very nicely to that. So on that day I'll begin with the house of Eli, and you'll see it said earlier in Perek Beis, Pasuk Yud Daled, the Malbim commented over there, but he's saying, and the sign is going to happen. It's when it happens to your 2 sons. When it happens to your 2 sons, to Chafni and Pinchas, that's going to show you that the words are coming true, and it will begin the first curse, and then that curse just continues and continues on until all the curses are finished that were mentioned, all the curses that the first prophet mentioned in the days of King David, when the Kohen Gadol will switch from one set of descendants from Isamar back to Elazar. Okay, Malbim continues in Yud Gimel, and in Yud Gimel he discusses how, and I will tell him that I will begin to punish him. Now, why is this prophecy being repeated all in one day? That's what he's saying. First it was by the Ish Elokim, and now by Shmuel, because when the Ish Elokim said it, it was a Gzar Din, it was a decree, but didn't have a Shvuah. Since it didn't have a Shvuah and oath to it, it's still possible, Tshuva Maisim Tovim. Even when God makes a decree can still be ripped up. A tzaddik can rip up a decree. It's possible. It's not easy, but Tshuva Maisim Tovim can do it. But now, when I said in other words, I already told him, he got it, Tilo. I already told him through a Navi before, this morning, that I'm going to judge him forever. So now in Pasuk Yudalad, and therefore I swear. So now I'm reaffirming that it will never be undone. That's what he's saying in terms of he got it, Tilo. I've already told him what's going to happen. Okay. Ki mekalim lahem banav, that's cursing them. So, meaning to say, it's not saying it exactly true. It's saying that the curse is coming onto them. Unless you want to speak a little softer, but it means the curse is coming onto them. And why? In other words, rather to say Kiyodaki Mekam Lahem, that they were cursing, that the Chafni and Pinchas were giving curses, as it were, and doing terrible things, and he should have immediately done things, and he didn't. The Malbim learns, we would have thought it meant over the course of time he didn't correct Chafni and Pinchas. The Malbim is saying, right then and there, this now explains what I was bothering me, and now the Malbim answered it. Remember, last week was bothering me, I said, the Ish Elokim went to him, wraps him out for a whole long thing, and what does Eli do? Nothing. Now the Malbim picks up on that in this pasuk, and says, now, you didn't do anything. Right then, when you got that prophecy, a few hours ago, earlier today, you should have gone on crazy. You should have done tshuva. You should have gone to your sons. I just heard a prophecy from a Navi. Come on. Do you understand what's going to happen now? A Navi came and told me all this. Let's do tshuva. But you didn't. Okay, again, why? We can only speculate. Again, he was too old, felt it was too late. He already had given them rebuke earlier. He did give them a rebuke. I guess it wasn't so strong. It was a soft rebuke. They didn't listen to that rebuke. They don't listen to me anyway. Just, as the Gemara says, just like it's mitzvah to say what can be heard, it's mitzvah to say, not say what's not going to be heard. he kind of felt that they'll never hear him. And he gave up prematurely. And the fact that he's being punished can only suggest that had he rebuked properly, the kids would have listened. If the kids wouldn't have listened, then why should he be punished? If you have such terrible people that they're not going to listen, then how could the parent be punished? Or you could say, even if they wouldn't have listened, as we know many times, but how do you know they're not going to listen? Therefore you have to keep rebuking anyway. Be that as it may, Eli did not rebuke. And since he didn't rebuke even at this last one when perhaps things could have changed, he didn't. And therefore, that's it. So, he says in Pasuk Yudal, therefore now, this Ksar Din now has a Shvu accompany it, and now at that point there's no way you can undo it. It cannot be reversed. And that's just saying it cannot be atoned for with offerings, a Zevach, a Mincha, that this sin, and why? Because Mom says Mida Keneged Mida. Because their main sin that the two brothers did was through the animal offerings. They brought a Chil Hashem with the animal offerings Gufa. That was the greatest form of desecration. They abused the whole service that was there. And we have a concept, Ein Kategar Nasa Senegar. A defense attorney cannot be a prosecuting attorney. Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur does not wear any of his garment that had any gold in it, because it would remind Hashem of the golden calf. Golden calf was a sin. You can't use any gold in atonement. So anything that was part of a sin can't be part of asking for the defense. So your Pharaoh wasn't Korbanos. How is it going to be reflected back in Korbanos again? Now, other Averas that have nothing to do with Korbanos can be atoned for with Tshuva and Korbanos. But if you sinned in the area of Korbanos Gufa, there's no way that can be corrected. And therefore, the conventional means of Tshuva will not exist for you. And that's really the only means that most people are aware of. Now, of course, there is a major philosophical problem with this prophecy. As the Malbim notes in Pasuk Yud Gimel, where he's saying, Ka'avon asher yodaf, for the sin that I know. In other words, he's saying, I'm going to judge you, and it's going to go ad olam forever. So this is a typical question that would bother Sam and others. He says, like, what's going on over here? There's no free will choice. Everyone's descendant to die already, right? Shouldn't chew it. You tell me it for generations. There's not going to be the ability to chew. So the Malbim kind of says, yep, that's going to happen. It would appear. And he says, but he had good children. They were good descendants that came later on down the way, right? But Hashem, He sees them all from the beginning. He knows what's going to happen. So he says, Yoda, He knows, Hashem knows in the future that He's not going to have children that are that worthy. That there will be any, they're not going to be that worthy. There's no taint of the fathers of theirs still in their gene pool that gets activated in them. So what the Radak is saying over here is that you're right. There's one thing Hashem knows the future, and the Rambam has already told us His knowledge of the future does not take away from our free will choice, because His knowledge comes from a different realm of reality. I mean, He knows everything we're going to do. But the point is, He's saying now in our reality, but how could it be that no one, weren't there good people later on? What are you going to tell me? They're good people, they get punished? So the truth of the matter is, that doesn't mean anything, because that could be part of your nisayon in life. But what he is saying, though, the Radak, what he's saying is that you're right. If a person does complete tshuva and totally eradicates whatever negative area they have, then they're not going to get punished. But Hashem saw in the future that it's not totally going to be that way. That no matter how good they are, they never really totally worked on this one flaw. In other words, in Eli, there's a spiritual root flaw that his descendants carry with him. That happens often. We carry it. But the question is, can you eradicate it and totally clean it out and fix it up 100%? Then you won't have to get punished. Hashem saw that they wouldn't totally eradicate it. They still have free will choice, and nobody got punished who didn't deserve to get punished. Remember, everyone comes in life with a flaw. To the degree that you repair it and you don't act with it, you're okay. But if you never really, a person's born with a temper, so because there's a temper, he speaks lashon hara. Because there's a temper, he hurts people's feelings, you're going to get punished. If you work on your temper, that you don't talk lashon hara, you don't hurt people's feelings, and you never express that temper, and it's totally been vanquished, then Hashem's not going to punish you. So Radak is saying that he knew the future, and the future was indeed that they would not fix it up. Okay, again, we'll go back to what is possible to fix up. But in general, we'll see how this. We'll see there is a implication that this is still a possible tshuva. But clearly, Hashem is saying, according to the Radak, he does not see that a tshuva is going to happen because people are not going to be improving on that. Just to clarify, maybe it wasn't so clear. Rashi brings on ki mekalim lehem bonav. So clearly, Rashi's mekalim li. They're cursing me. It should have said. But they write it a different way because it's a very terrible thing to say that people cursed God. So it's right, ki mekalim lahem. They're cursing upon them. But it means they were cursing Hashem. In terms of the way they were behaving, it was tantamount to cursing out Hashem. Yeah.
So I heard the rabbi say that the Eli's son, they were sinning in Korbanos, and therefore they couldn't bring up Korbanos to do tshuva. But don't we learn that the way to do tshuva is to be faced with the exact same situation? This time you do it differently. You do it.
Yeah, I understand.
So how else could they do tshuva?
I hear your question. The question is 2 points. You're asking a question. It says in the area that a tzaddik sins, that's where he does his atonement. But that works in terms of changing actions. But there's 2 concepts that are not in conflict. One is ein kateger nasa seneger. A prosecuting attorney can't be a defense attorney. The second one is, in the area where you're sinned, that's the area where you do the tshuva. Those are 2 different things. There's tshuva, and then there's atonement. Tshuva means I changed my ways. But then after the tshuva, there has to be atonement. There's 2 separate steps here. In other words, you did tshuva. Let's say any Avera you did. Any Avera. You by mistake, you were Machal Shabbos B'Shogeg. Unintentionally. So what's the process? Just bring a korban? No. First you have to do tshuva. Number 1, I'm not going to do it again. And in the very area that I sinned, I'm not going to sin again. Okay, that's number 1. That shows I've taken care of that level. Then you have to go bring a korban. Now you need Hashem's help, that it shouldn't happen again, and what you said is going to be true, and that your relationship is restored with Hashem. That is the second step. You have to bring a korban. There's a few steps to coming back to Hashem. It's even without korbanos, we said there's 20 steps that you have, at least 4. A commitment, you're not going to do it again. This and that, all these steps. So even in the korban process, Hashem, if you just bring a korban, you don't do tshuva, it's worthless. So there's 2 steps over here. So step 1 is you have to do tshuva in the area where you made the mistake. So that's step A, and that should be done in the area where you made the mistake. A. But then B, you've got to bring a korban to get atonement for the sin that you made. So in terms of atonement, the prosecutor cannot be the defense attorney. If you sinned with gold, you don't want to remind the God of the gold. That's when you don't want to remind him of what was going on in the past. When you're doing tshuva and you're working on yourself, so I'm working on myself, this is where I felt, this is where I'm going to be better. But you don't then come back to God and remind Him of what you did bad and say, I want that to be the means of atonement. That can't be the means of atonement. Because you use that to sin against me. But so in regarding to tshuva, that's one aspect. And therefore, yes, exactly what you did, you have to show that those potentials could be used in Rachav. Rachav lowered, remember we learned when she had the spies, she lowered the rope to continue doing her sinful activities. She lowered a rope to get the guys out of trouble. So that was showing she was doing tshuva in the very area. But when she wanted to do atonement, she wouldn't show a God rope. Here's my rope, God. Now you want atonement. You want atonement, you have to use an area where you haven't sinned at all. Because now it's real tshuva means it's gone. Real tshuva means it's as if it didn't happen. That's the last stage of atonement. You want God to wipe out the sin, expunge it from the records. Well, then don't remind God of what you did in the past. It's totally expunged. So those are two clear. It's a good question, but it's two clearly different areas. Yeah.
Real tshuva means that it's completely gone. Then why can't you use that same object that was used for sin?
Because that is gone. That's out of the picture. Not even any memories of it. Not any memories. Okay, let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. A guy has an affair with the secretary, and he gives the secretary a beautiful piece of jewelry. Okay, beautiful piece of jewelry. Okay, then the secretary, they finally break up, and somebody gets the piece of jewelry back. Okay, so now he could do tshuva with that jewelry, but if he's going to say to his wife, dear, now we're making up. Here's the piece of jewelry I gave to the secretary. What are you talking about? Get out of here. I don't want it. But you take the jewelry and say, here, I'm going to take the jewelry, I'm going to hock it, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to get $5,000 for it, and I'm going to give the money for funds to bring in speakers on Shalom Bayis. You understand? So the thing that I did an affair with, I'm doing tshuva on that. Something like that. I'm doing tshuva on that. I'm using the thing, but you don't go to your wife and say, dear, I want to remind you of my. It's finished, and Hashem works the same way. Hashem works the same way. This is disgusting in terms of me and you. I won't know about it. You clean your act up through that area you messed up. You clean yourself up, then you come to me clean, and now it's gone. Now it's gone. I don't want to hear from it. I don't want to hear from it. And you can imagine every time he's going to see the bracelet on his wife's wrist, he's not going to remember old secretary. So remember, just like you have to remember, averas you once slipped into are the ones you can slip right back into it. So we don't want to have any memory of that. It's gone. Let's fix it in the area where we faulted, and let's move on. Can't go and show that means there's still some connection to it. We don't want any connection.
We always hear that there's no avera that you can't get tshuva for, and it sounds like that this is an exception.
That's a different aspect. Well, he's saying because Hashem saw, Radak is saying Hashem saw that they won't.
But they
could have, and they didn't.
Oh, okay.
They could have, but they didn't. Hashem prophetically saw that that the sin is such a deep sin, that they would never really get out. And that's one opinion. Now there's a Chazal that seems to imply it a little bit differently, and we mentioned it already with the piece from Reb Tzadok. Gemara where is it now? There's a number of things. I think it's the other sheet. I know I photocopied two sheets here. Where is it? I just... One second. No. Very odd. Very odd. Anyway, I wanted to read it inside, but I guess I'll have to say it outside. Gemara says that the pasuk didn't say I won't accept any of your tshuva. What did the pasuk exactly say? What did the pasuk exactly say? The pasuk said, I swear that what? That it will not be atoned for through zevach and through mincha. It will not be atoned through a korban from a mincha offering. He didn't say that it won't be atoned for through something else. To which the Gemara says that it could be atoned through learning Torah and Gemilas Chesed. And that will be the means of how it could be atoned for. Because you have to understand that every atonement, there's some averas that it's enough to bring a korban. But, But no, there's a third chazal. Okay, there's a little different chazal there. But it could be atoned through learning Torah. Through learning Torah, through doing tshuva ma'asim, through gemilas chesed. Right? Oh, I remember now. It's in the Ralbag. Yeah, the Ralbag brings it down. The Ralbag says, quotes Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Shakapar lo tishalim lebeis Eli b'vzevachu b'mincha. Kapar will not happen through korbanos. V'lam tishalim b'mashu yoser tomen. But it can be paid back or corrected with what's better than korbanos. V'la asik b'Torah. That's learning Torah. Ugamilas chasadim, ugamilas chesed. Acts of kindness. And as you recall, Rabbeinu Yonah, not the one we learned, but different Rabbeinu Yonah says, because many averos need, atonement depends on the type of avera that you do. Right? And there's some averos that need death. And that's the Mechilta. The Mechilta says, Misha Machal Shem Shemayim. Anyone who desecrates God's name, and this sin is under that's the worst category. But also tshuva, you do tshuva, ein koach tshuva litlos. Tshuva is not enough to get it done. The sin's too great. V'lo Yom Kippur mechaper, and even Yom Kippur isn't going to help. V'lo Yisurim bilvad memarkim, not just Yisurim will cleanse it. Ela tshuva v'Yom Kippur tolim, tshuva Yom Kippur suspends it, v'Yisurim and Yisurim also, v'Yom Hamisa memarkim, death will clean it out. And that's what it says. Your sin will not be forgiven with korbanos, but what will it be forgiven with? Misa, with death. There's some of it, we're talking about, yeah, you can do tshuva. Who said not going to do tshuva? Fine. But the sin is so intense, for the total cleansing to happen, you got to die. That's what he's saying. That's what the Mechilta is saying. Do tshuva all you like, and fine, I will love you. And after you die, then you'll have the complete atonement. So we're not saying they can't do tshuva. It's like 100% tshuva. But the sin is such a deep tshuva, the dirt that they carry with them is so great that I'll allow you that after you die, that yes, when you die, then the atonement will happen. But, however, but clearly, so what does it mean? So what does the Gemara mean to say, but through Torah, my gemilas chesed? Because Rabbi Yonah says, because Torah is the ultimate of suffering. And now with this you can understand this week's parsha so beautifully ties in. We'll close with this. We talk, it's right in the beginning, the first aliyah, Tuma, the Paraduma. It says, Adam ki yamus ba'ohel. If a person dies in his house, it goes through, and if you touch him, you become blah, 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 blah. So it says, Zos chukas HaTorah, this is the law of the Torah. Adam ki yamus ba'ohel, the person who dies in his tent. So the rabbis explain, Zos chukas HaTorah, the way you really can learn Torah is what? If you may if you kill yourself in your house, meaning to say if you kill yourself over learning Torah, not literally kill yourself, but you really give yourself through extreme suffering to be able to learn Torah, that's the way to learn Torah. But now you understand more than that. That is also a form of death. Why does it say memis atzmo? It says the Gemara says someone who kills himself for Torah. That's the chok of the Torah. Which maybe I'm just saying this on my own now. Even though the normal rule is it only comes through death, the final atonement. But who says you can't kill yourself prematurely? You kill yourself over learning Torah. And the Chofetz Chaim's famous word, remember? He gave an analogy to a fellow in his old age. He wanted to start learning Torah, and he started working less in the business. And the wife's complaining to the rabbi, look what my husband's doing, he's learning Torah. Sir, the business isn't running, what's going on? The guy was very old, he's going to die soon, it's enough business. So Chofetz Chaim says, and she says, it's not me, right, but the customers, it's not nice, customers are coming, he's coming late, this and that, where's the derech eretz? Chofetz Chaim, let me ask you a question. What if the Malach HaMavos would come today and take your husband? You tell the Malach HaMavos, I'm sorry, you can't take him, the customers are waiting. If the Malach HaMavos, the angel of death, would take your husband, he's gone. So pretend that the Malach HaMavos took your husband. There's nothing to talk about. But don't worry, he'll bring you back in the afternoon. When he finishes learning, he's going to come back. So they're fine. So then he'll be back. What does that mean to say? But right on the morning that he learns, he's dead to the world. That means when you're learning, there's no cell phone in your pocket that as soon as somebody calls to interrupt your learning. If you go to a shiur to learn Torah for 45 minutes, there's nothing in the world that stops you. You know, your wife's going, can you go to Sobeys on the way and you come home? Get out of here. Take the phone off the hook. When you're finished with the class, you call your wife and say, dear, do you need anything? I'm serious. Anyone who, unless you're a doctor and you must legally have it. But anyone goes into a shiur with a cell phone on means to say they're not killing themselves for Torah. They're waiting for the first excuse to get away from learning Torah. You learn Torah. What in the world? Even if somebody dies, you know what? It doesn't usually happen. Believe me. What if? Doesn't happen. Okay? And even if it did, it'll wait a half an hour. So your whole life, you should pick up phones, turn around to start calling. Middle of a Gemara class. I'll check the number to see if it's important. If it's my wife. It's your wife. Who cares if it's your wife? Who's your wife when you're learning Torah? Even your wife. I'm taking it on record. Yeah? Even your wife has to wait. Because for you to be a Talmud Chacham, your wife has to know not to call when you're in a class. I'm in the middle of a Gemara class. We're in the most complicated part. You've got to be listening. Giving a Gemara class. Step A, step B, step D. Now we're coming to the clincher. The phone rings. Oh, I got to take a look, even just to see who's calling. That's it. You're finished. Now, what does that say about your attitude to the Torah that you're learning? And then you wonder why you don't succeed in learning. You wonder, I don't know why I'm not succeeding in learning. You're not killing yourself to learn. Killing yourself means I'm removed from this world while I learn. And you know what? Tell a guy to shut off his cell phone for a class, he'll feel like he's being killed. I can't live without the ability to answer the cell phone at any time in my life. I feel like I'm dying. That's what Chazal says. You have to kill yourself learning Torah. The chiddush would come from that, is that, you know what, so for some people, mamish learning the way they need to learn, it's like you mamish feel like you're killing yourself. So if you killed yourself from, what is death? Death means removing yourself from everything in this world. Being totally connected to your neshama. That's how you get tshuva, where you totally cut yourself off from the physical realm. But you could do it in this world. So that can be an atonement for Chilul Hashem, if you're learning this way. And that's the chiddush that the Gemara is saying, that you can't get atonement through korbanos, but you can get a chiddush from Torah and Gemilas Chesed. You can do Gemilas Chesed the same way. Okay, needs more to talk about. Sorry.